Hello, everyone. Dr. Victoria Scorpio here, speaking to you from the Seed of Transformation Healing Center in Wareham, Massachusetts. It's time for tarot scopes. We're going to be doing the tarot scopes for the sign of Scorpio. That's Scorpio suns. Excuse me, Scorpio moon. Goodness gracious. Scorpio rising for the month of August 2023. And before we get into Scorpio here, my dress is doing a weird thing in the back there. Strange. Before we get into the card readings, we're going to look at a little astrology. It's a pretty active month, of course, as always, but not as intensely disruptive as the last, I don't know, 4 months, 5 months has it been. There's this sense of things sort of things moving much quicker, and one of the reasons for that is because there are trines happening this month, and trines in Earth. So when you have trines in Earth, things are made manifest, and we have Mars making a trine to Jupiter on the first day. We have Mars making a trine to Mars trining Jupiter, Mars trining Uranus on the new moon in Leo. That happens on the 3rd week. Then we have Mars trine Pluto. That happens on the 4th week. So there's this constant sort of energy of Mars activating the social planet of Jupiter and the transpersonal planets of Uranus and Pluto. So it means change and transformation, but with ease. We also have trines of Mercury and Jupiter, which are the signs associated with the mind. Those are also in Earth, with Mercury in Virgo and Jupiter in Taurus. We also have some squares this month. We have Uranus square the Sun. That always brings unexpected things. We have Jupiter and Venus make a square. It's the 2nd of 3 that they're making. We have Venus retrograde, Mars in Virgo, Pluto in Capricorn. I mentioned Mars and Pluto because those are your co-rulers. So your ruling planet Mars is or your co-ruling planet Mars is very active this month, as is not quite as active, but definitely active, your Pluto, which is also rules Scorpio. And Pluto, lest we forget, is in a very tight square with the nodes of the moon. The nodes of the moon at the end of July just moved into Aries and Libra, Sun, North Node in Aries, South Node in Libra, coming out of the North Node in Taurus and the South Node in Scorpio. So you've been, for the last 18, 19 months, as a Scorpio, bearing witness to that South Node in Scorpio and all the energy that has come through that South Node. And of course, the South Node in Scorpio requires us to heal, but it also requires us to look and confront our shadow. Now the South Node moves into Libra. And so the pressure, in a way, is off for you, at least for a bit. It's not quite as intense. I actually was talking to a Scorpio client, and I mentioned that, Scorpio on the South Node, the Scorpios were sort of like, I was talking about how you have to get when you live in a house that's not connected to city sewage, you have your own septic, and every couple of years you have to get that pumped. And the Scorpios were like holding the hose that does it. Like, so they didn't necessarily have to be in it, but they had to be close enough to it, I guess, to smell it. So now you have some fresh air, Scorpio. Hopefully that'll cheer you up. What an awful thing to say to somebody, right? But it's true. All right, so let's talk about the weeks as we go. First week, we start with a full moon. in Aquarius, of course, Aquarius with the sun in Leo. This is the axis of love. Actually, for you, it runs along your 8th and 2nd house. No, sorry, your 4th and 10th house as a Scorpio. So this is about love and love given and love received. And for the Scorpios, we're looking at the family and we're looking at the outer world. So this is a very potent in its way full moon for you. It can bring up some trauma from your childhood, from your growing up years. That can you become aware of that. We also have on the first day, we have Mars make a trine to Jupiter. This is activating your 11th and your 7th houses. These are your air houses. Your 11th house is your friends. Your 7th house is your one-to-one relationships, including things like marriage and business partnerships and open enemies. And so there's a flow of energy in the air houses, as it were, but the energy is in Earth, because the planets that are activating those houses for you are in Earth. And so there's a manifestation here, right? And it can be a manifestation of groups, it could be a manifestation of a relationship, it could be a manifestation of an enemy. Perhaps there's a shift in your relationship, so we can see that. We also have Mercury make an opposition to Saturn. Mercury is in Virgo all month, and actually at the end of the month it goes retrograde. We'll talk about it when we get there. And it's opposing Saturn, which is in Pisces. This is oppositions always bring awareness, and so there's awareness around love, the love you receive, the love that you give. It's an awareness around personal love and the more impersonal love of things like friendship and group orientation. And so we have a realization, and because we're dealing with Scorpio and not Scorpio, because we're dealing with Virgo and Pisces, that energy, it's about healing. So there's some healing that needs to happen in your love relationships, whether they be the more personal love relationships or the more impersonal relationships of love. Week 2, we have a square between the Sun and Jupiter. Sun and Jupiter squares can make us overly optimistic, can bring out arrogance if we happen to have a tendency towards that. This is activating your house of public standing and your house of relationship. And so it's not that you shouldn't put faith in your relationships, but you shouldn't put too much faith or an overabundance of faith here. We need to be practical at this time. We also have a trine between Mercury and Jupiter in the second week. This aligns our mind, our intuitive mind, which is Jupiter, and our logical mind, which is Mercury, and they're in Earth. So there's practical application here for you. And it's activating your 11th and 7th houses, your air houses. So again, this is a time to not get too overly, say, optimistic, ambitious, although you're kind of a bottom line kind of person. So this is less likely to affect you as opposed to somebody who tends to go overboard on stuff. But there's opportunity here, but you really need to work out the details. You need to work out the details among friends and relationships in order to get the most out of this energy. On week 3, we have it's surprising. We have first we start with less surprising, but very important. The Sun makes a conjunction to Venus retrograde. This is the highlight of the Venus retrograde cycle. This is about getting to the heart of the matter. And for you, it's sitting in your 10th house. So you're reevaluating your values when it comes to your public standing or how you want to be seen in the outer world, or perhaps in your career. There needs to, when Venus is retrograde in Leo, there's a necessity to love what you're doing. And if you love what you're doing, great. But if you don't love what you're doing, this may be a time to reconsider how you put yourself out there in the world. We also have on this third week, or in this third week, a square between the sun and Uranus. Just like we had a square between the sun and Jupiter, which makes us over optimistic, the sun Uranus square tends to make us be willing to go places we normally wouldn't go. So out of the box stuff. Now that can work to our benefit, or it could work to our detriment. Uranus, you don't always know, but there is this need to be free. And again, we're dealing with the 10th and the 7th houses. So this need to be uniquely who you are based on your values and what's important to you in the places where you interact with others, whether it be your career in the outer world, or whether it be in the realm of relationships. And then we have the new moon in Leo. And so this is a new seed being planted, a seed of self-expression, a seed of love, a seed of our sense of what do we want. Leo is will. What do I will into existence, right? And so we have an opportunity to start something new for you in your house of career, your 10th house, your house of public standing. And the thing is, when things happen in the 10th house, everybody notices. So don't think you're gonna sneak this one. You're gonna be able to sneak this one in. And you know, Scorpio, you love to sneak stuff in because you would prefer to not be so exposed. But there's a lot of exposure right now, and it's just the nature of where the planets are. And you've had a lot of you've done a lot of work over while the node was in Scorpio. So you can, you know, this is a good time to sort of be seen, really, for the hard work that you've done. And okay, so then we have week 4. Week 4 is a little less spectacular when it comes to all these sudden, like, woo, here I am kind of energies. It's a week of adjustments. We have yods of the sun and the sun and Pluto, the sun and Neptune over the first 2 days of the week. This creates a yod with the sun being the focus point. For you guys, that's again in the 10th house. So while there's these new opportunities for a new way to express yourself, you still have to take into consideration how that expression is bringing forward the evolution of the species, the evolution. It needs to be helpful. It needs to be so that there's this energy of needing to sort of calm down the ego for the benefit of the evolution of the planet, the evolution of humanity. That you know, and evolution brings us to more unity and less divisiveness. And so if you're doing the unity thing, this is great. You don't have to make as many adjustments, right? Okay. On the 22nd, we have Mars opposing Neptune. This is part of a cycle. It's a 2-year cycle of Mars and Neptune. And it's kind of the cycle associated with spiritual warrior. But whenever you're dealing with Neptune and Mars, Mars is about forward motion, but Neptune tends to make things unclear. So we're not always exactly clear as to what this means. And for you, Scorpio, this is going to be your 11th house. Mars is in your 11th house. Neptune is in your 5th house. This is the axis of love. So you're going to feel it, but you're not going to necessarily understand what it is, what's going on. There's a certain amount of leap of faith that you need to take with this energy. On the 23rd, we have the sun now move into Virgo. This is your 11th house. Sun in Virgo, it rolls up its sleeves, does its due diligence. Its ruling planet Mercury, also in Virgo, also stations retrograde on that day. So we have this Virgo energy that wants to fix what's broken, but the ruler is is moving backwards. So as you do fix what's broken through this period, you might have to do it over and over again until you get it right. It's not always going to be like a first shot kind of thing. But we're looking at our 11th house, which is friends, which is groups, but it's also new goals. It's also new goals. So you have some time to work out some of your new goals. Then on the 24th of the month, we have Mars make its trine to Pluto. Mars and Pluto are your ruling planets. And when they're in harmony with each other, as in a trine, it's very powerful for the Scorpio and the Scorpio rising and the Scorpio moon. And the trine itself has a Leo energy to it. So it's a trine of self-expression. And so you're really going to feel yourself expressing yourself. And it happens in your 11th house of groups, new goals, and the like, and your 3rd house of the mind. So brilliant ideas coming through at this time. Very, very positive for you if you choose to use it in that way. And then in the last week, Mars, your ruling planet, moves into Libra, not as happy. Well, I'm not sure Mars in Virgo is happy. Mars in Virgo is busy. Mars in Libra is trying to be diplomatic. And so, depending on how diplomatic you are, in general, this can be a challenge, or it can be, yes, I'm in my element, right? But it's moving through your 12th house. So there's an activation of that 12th house energy, which can be connection to source, spirit, your guides, very psychic time, hearing voices of your guides, of your dead relatives, whatever. But it's also the house of undoing. So you do have to watch the kinds of things that you do, that you're not, shooting yourself in the foot, because that can happen as well. And then we have the full moon ending the month. We started with the full moon. We have a nice new moon, all jazzed up with Mars and Uranus, and the new moon squaring Uranus. So a lot of surprising things happening in the middle of the month. And then at the end of the month, we have another full moon, which is a point of awareness. Only this time, it's the sun in Virgo and the moon in Pisces. And for you, that is your 5th and 11th house. So, and it is the axis, the Pisces Virgo axis is the axis of healing, and the healing happens in the houses associated with love. So this is a time for understanding. It's a time for forgiveness. It's a time for healing in your relationships, whether they your love relationships, whether they be personal or impersonal. So really kind of a lovely, always a little bit challenging, but a lovely, lovely month for you, Scorpio, which, I mean, how often do you hear that? It's like almost on vacation. Okay, so I've been doing an oracle pull, and let me see if do I have a timestamp on this? I do not. I was going to see what time it was so I could, because I timestamped the reading. If you're not interested in astrology, because it is kind of technical and the like, you can just jump right to the oracle, or you can jump to the tarot. I put timestamps on it, but I don't see it here, so I'll have to look. I'm using the Spirit Animal Oracle deck by, it's kind of hard to see. It's a beautiful deck. Colette Baron-Reid. Oh dear, I spelled her name wrong. Anyway, and so let's see what animal is speaking to you, Scorpio. Now, I have been actually putting little vignettes up for each of the signs. So if you check your other signs, you'll see that what's behind me is different. I have my painting for Scorpio, and then I have these two little crows. And there's two, because Scorpio is a relationship sign. This is obsidian. I believe this is my silver sheen obsidian. Yeah, silver sheen obsidian. Obsidian is a protective stone. It's very connected to Scorpio. It's glass. It's volcanic glass, right? So it has that transformational fire energy within it. And my moss agate, which I always have. Uh-oh. This guy fell a little bit. So that's my little setup for Scorpio. Let's see what card comes up for Scorpio. What's a Scorpio? What animal wants to speak to Scorpio in August? What message do you have for Scorpio? What message do you have for Scorpio? This is a great deck. There's a lot of cards in it, which I like. And the writing is really good. There are a lot of animal decks out there, but this is my favorite new one. Of course, the old standbys, the medicine cards, and the work of Teddy Andrews, the seminal stuff. But this is a good deck. Owl spirit. Oh, what else would it be, right? Scorpio owl. See, you see clearly now. You can see clearly now, the rain is gone. You can see all obstacles in your way. Do. Gone are the dark clouds that had you blind. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. Look all around, there's nothing but blue skies. Sorry, love that song. Any chance, any reason to sing, I take. Owl spirit arrives to remind you that the wisdom within you is informed by your keen senses and the wisdom within the consciousness we all share. Even in the darkest night, the owl sees clearly and is guided by every sense it has, including the first sense of intuition. Right now, your sensitivities are turbocharged and you are receiving messages from all directions. Owl reminds you to be wise and pay attention to what's between the lines. You live between the lines, Scorpio, honestly. What is invisible to the naked eye? What cannot be heard with the ears and what others may not be able to perceive? This is definitely your card, guys. With all your senses aroused, you have much knowledge available to you. Clarity will come as you sit with all that you are sensing, allowing your intuition to guide you in understanding the whole and not just the parts. Let your vision arise and be your guide as you trust the acuity of all your senses. Intuition is real and can provide the clarity you need to understand your situation right now. Your relationship, your finances, your job, whatever it is, you can see the truth clearly now. So, wow. It's true. I mean, it's in the cards, honestly. All right. So I am using for the water signs this month, I am using the Tarot of Transformation. I was actually going to use the Crow deck, but I have an antique table that I keep my cards in. And because it's been so humid, I can't open the drawers. So the Crow deck is taking a vacation right now until it and maybe tonight I can open it. But it's a Tower of Transformation. And I love this deck. I've had this deck for years. I actually bought it on sale. I saw it was on sale. I was like, oh, I love a sale. And then I got into the deck and the deck was just fabulous. Tower of Transformation. Tarot. That's the back. All right, let's see here. All right, what do we have here? We have Temperance. We have Temperance. This is a card of balance. It's a card of integration. It's an alchemical process. It is the coming together of fire and water. Fire as spirit, water as mother, creating air and earth. This is a very, very powerful card. It's also a card that reminds us not to get caught up in extremes. And while that sounds logical, Scorpio, and probably a good idea, Scorpio is a sign of extremes. So it's maybe even a little bit harder for you than it might be for somebody else. But it really does mean that you're at a place where you're being very careful about how you're walking forward in life. And I think that's actually a good way to be right now. What's challenging you? We have passion play here. We have the teacher of discs. You know, it's been so intense for you guys with the South Node in your sign for so long, that maybe you've even forgotten how to play. And so the challenge is, how do I play and enjoy myself? It's okay, you can do it. Imagine that your biggest problem is that you can't figure out how to enjoy yourself. It is passion. It is what you love. Remember, the sun is in Leo for most of the month, and we have Venus retrograde in Leo. So it's important to know what you can do to sort of stimulate that play within you. Underneath it all, we have the Master of Swords reading the web. This is your ability to see the things that other people can't see. See the things that other people can't see. Your intuition, your psychic ability, your magic. So you're standing on your magic. In the past, we have the Seven of Wands here. This is opening to angels. This is opening all your chakras. So this is the spiritual work that you've been doing in the past, to open all your chakras, to connect to your source, your higher source. In the sky, we have death. This is the Scorpio card. It's about letting go. It says here, grieving and letting go. So there is things that you need to let go of, but your whole life is about letting go. So this is not new. This is not news for you, but know that things are changing. And a lot of times when I read that top card, I can read it as spirit giving us information, you know, what is spirit saying about this, but it can also be the outer world and what's going on in the outer world. And the death card means that the outer world is changing. The outer world is changing. Let's see your immediate future. We have the multidimensional universe, 21, the cosmos. This is the world card. And this is about something ending and something beginning. So something is being wrapped up. It's almost as if this month for you is, it seems to me from the astrology in these cards so far, is that there's this energy of watershed. It's a watershed month for you. It's things come to a sort of like a and a new beginning. Let's see how other people see you. Healer of Wands, vibrational healing. So they see you as a healer, and it's true, you are. And vibrational healing is whatever frequency that you are on is the kind of experiences that you're going to attract to yourself. And so the higher your frequency, the clearer your frequency, the more fine your frequency, the higher, finer things come to you. And, you know, Scorpio, most Scorpios have spent a lot of time in the lower vibrational, even the highest vibrational Scorpios have spent time in those lower vibrations, because as Scorpio is a sign of extremes, you've had to experience all of it. And Scorpio is about, and the true nature of Scorpio is about letting go of all that shadow stuff and rising up into that, the next sign, which is the energy of Sagittarius, which is aspirational. So it's the desire to aspire to your highest self that is really the journey of Scorpio. And people see that in you. Your domestic situation, love it. The Queen of Life, the Empress card. This is fertility. This is a very good time for you. If you're still in your fertile years, know that this is a very fertile time. But this is about utilizing your creative imagination. The Empress sits on the tree of life between Hokmah and Bina, the divine masculine and the divine feminine, and she holds within her the savior, right? The savior, the God, the Son of God, Sunson. She's also associated with the sign of Venus, and remember, Venus is retrograde in Leo, so it's really about coming to what is most precious to you, right, in your own heart. Hopes and fears. You can't really see what's coming, and so you have to have some trust. Not the easiest thing for Scorpio. Why is that? Because they've had their trust betrayed many times. But it's really about learning to trust yourself more than it is about learning to trust others, because really, honestly, the only one you can truly trust is yourself, to do the best for yourself, because that's your power. Your power comes from within you, right? Comes down from spirit, inside out, up, down, inside out. And so when you desire something outside of yourself and you think that's going to be the thing, that thing outside of yourself is inside of yourself. And very much we're thrown back on ourselves to realize that it's always been there. Outcome, movement and freedom, the Three of Swords. This does have some heartbreak to it, of course. The Three of Swords always has a little bit of and what you mourn in the Three of Swords, because it's usually like it can be a relationship breaks up, or something that you had hoped for doesn't come to fruition, but it frees you to something better, generally something better. Let's see if we can put major arcana, and we have the Devil here. I feel like there's a freedom from addiction. Whatever your addiction is an opportunity for freedom from an addiction. Let's look what's underneath it. We have the Five of Discs in this card. In this deck, it's releasing stuck energy, stuck sexual energy, so sexual trauma, perhaps. Stabilizing the mind, coming to understand the patterns. Excuse me. And lastly, the Six of Swords. This is about moving into peace and harmony. So there is some energy here that you've had to work through and needed help to understand. And now you're deciding on a new journey, but a journey with less, perhaps, the need for pain and suffering. All right, that's what's going on, Scorpio. Wow, powerful reading and good news, I think. Generally good news for you, Scorpio. Congratulations. Have yourself a great month. Like and subscribe if you would. If you want to get a reading with me, you can do that. There's a link below. If you'd like to support me on Patreon, there's a link below for that. Patreon folk do get a little extra things, but I not as many extras as I'd like to do, but the more people that get on Patreon, the more I'll be able to afford to do extra things for Patreon. I know it's kind of backwards, but unfortunately that's the way I'm doing it, backwards and sideways. But yeah, so have a great month, everyone. Take care, and namaste.